deal. So we'll put Jim on hold. And do we have Kevin McCarthy? All right. Pleased to be joined by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Speaker McCarthy, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm going to be out there today at the Lake County Federation dinner, raising some money for some Republicans.
Yeah, I heard that from friends. People up there are excited. Obviously, the timing couldn't be better for them on the heels of this deal. That should generate some enthusiasm. So, give us your broad strokes on the deal that is now going to the president's desk.
Well, remember where we came from, and remember where past deals were. Many times, even when Republicans had control of the Senate and the House, they would just raise the debt limit without making any changes. Now, we control the House by a 5-seat majority, and the president said at the very beginning that he would not even talk to us, that Schumer on George Stephanopoulos months ago said this will be a clean debt ceiling. The Republicans are just going to raise the limit. Well, we said we wouldn't do that. I went to the president February 1st, said, let's sit down, let's talk about this. We've got to spend less money than we spent last year. We've got to have different focuses. We've got to take some of this waste money and pull it back. We've got to have work requirements. He said that would never happen. You know, at the end of the day, you didn't get everything you want, but what was very interesting watching the Senate, you had some Senate Republicans voting no because they wanted more money, even with the Democrats. And so what we got in this, for the first time that I've watched in a long history, we will spend less money than we spent before. We plussed up defense, but some people wanted even higher. We plussed up our veterans, and then our non-defense funding outside of veterans is lower than the 2022 level. We got work requirements where this means for able-bodied people with no dependents and you're on welfare, we're going to help you find a job. We watched it. Democrats said that was a red line. We could never do it. We got it in. We got it in there. We actually put caps in there for 6 years so government can't grow out of control. And then we did something that hasn't been done. If you take all of the history of Congress, a rescission is pulling back money you had appropriated but wasn't spent. They've only done $26 billion in our life. We did $29 billion. Took that COVID money. We stopped $400 million from our hardworking taxpayers going to the CDC Global Fund, meaning we were sending our money to China. We did something for what a lot of us understand. How do we cut the red tape and grow again? Well, what we did was we reformed NEPA, environmental review. That hasn't been happening in 40 years. So you don't study 7 years to build a new road. You cap that at 1 and 2 years. And then we're making Congress be accountable. If you don't do your simple job of passing all the appropriation bills by January 1st, you got a 1% cut across the board. This is just the beginning. It's just turning of the ship. And you know, what the president did, he wouldn't let us look at the entire budget. We had to do all that in the area of just 11% of the budget could we really even talk about.
Well, one concern that conservatives might have is that the hiring of IRS agents, is that going to be happening?
Yes. Okay, great question, and I think this has not been explained well enough. Okay, the 87,000 IRS agents isn't happening in a year. It's happening over a number of years. So what I can tell you right now is 0 agents have been hired. So they had programmed $1.4 billion to be spent hiring agents this year. No, we took the $1.4 billion away. So no agents will get hired this year. Then we got another $20 billion of that money to reprogram to other items. So when we get to appropriations. Now, one of the areas I think we should spend the money on instead, let's get some border agents. Let's secure our border. I think that's a better use than hiring IRS agents. So no, we didn't get all the money for the IRS, but they're not hiring anybody. We got $21 billion of that, and we'll come back next year to get the next segment and the next segment. You know, the one thing people should watch about me, if you watch the speaker's race, I never give up. And I'm never going to give up. But I'm going to take all that I can get today, stop them from doing anything this year, and come back next year for the rest.
I think what you said, the phrase you said, this is the beginning of the turning of the ship. I think this is where some conservatives got a bit lost and have uncontrolled expectations here. because you're a slim majority, one chamber, and and as you said, you moved the Biden from dismissing you out of hand and from the political class thinking that nothing was going to come out of the House to being forced to the table. But you're not going to be able to undo all these things that were done legally through the legislative process, and people forget the backdoor Green New Deal had 17 Republican senators sign on. You can't just undo that with a wave of a wand in this debt ceiling contest. This is going to take time, and this is sort of foreshadowing for some of the important fiscal issues that are going to be front and center in the 2024 campaign. And people just need to understand that you didn't get to 32 trillion and 120 trillion in unfunded liabilities overnight, and you're not going to unwind them in one debt ceiling deal.
No, and you're not going to look at 11% of what causes the increase in funding and solve it all through there. But you're 100% right here. But think for one moment what this bill is. This is the largest cut in American history. So even when Republicans were all in control, they would vote to increase spending on a debt ceiling. You watched what happened last when they did the omnibus bill. Well, that 1% cut, we just got the Democrats to agree never to have that happen again. If we put a bill on the floor just by itself for work requirements, it would pass the House, but it would never be law. I could vote for bills to put all my wish list in it, but it doesn't become law. Everything I just told you became law. We passed a bill that repealed all 87,000 IRS agents, that they don't hire those for years. But what we just did was stop them from hiring any and take $20 billion of that. So come back tomorrow and take the rest. Mm-hmm. And we just got the Democrats to join us and vote with that. And so now they're on record.
And so when you the Freedom Caucus and the press conference they have, and some of people making threats about your speakership, I mean, do you take that as and in spirit, I'm largely with the Freedom Caucus, but you'll have to operate on reality too, which I think you are. And so do you just take that, say, hey, people vote their conscience. You want to vote against this deal, that's fine, and we'll live to fight another day. We move on. Is that sort of your attitude?
That's my attitude. But look, I'm where the Freedom Caucus is. They're going further, but I don't want to be on the wrong side of history. When I had a moment to cut $2.1 trillion, the largest Congress has ever done, I don't want to say I wanted it better, so I voted no with the Democrats. What I want to do is make that change. Grab everything you can, show that we can govern, because, there's only a couple options. You can have this, or if this failed, they would pass a clean debt ceiling. The Democrats have a discharge petition with every Democrat on it. They only need 5 more Republicans to go there. We know what their plan was, to do nothing. We forced them to do something they never would do. Work requirements. We even have something called Paygo. We took this language from President Trump's executive order. What this says is, if the president wants to create a new program, a new regulation, and it costs more than $100 million, he can't do it without offsetting it, cutting government somewhere else. Now, it's not perfectly written. We took it the way Trump had it, because it gives a waiver for OMB. But now we got Democrats to vote that, put that in law, and when the approps come back, clean it up and make it even tighter. Take the win and come back to win again.
Yeah, yes. And just on one other topic before we let you go, I know you're a busy guy. The backing the play of Jim Comer, the House Oversight Chairman, with respect to that showdown with Christopher Wray over the subpoena they issued, and now Christopher Wray and the FBI are going to comply with that subpoena. I mean, to me, I hope, and I hope the response you're getting is appreciation for the Speaker intervening to back the play of his committee chairman, to go after the FBI and wherever the facts lead with respect to Biden Incorporated. And I hope that continues. I hope that's your attitude and the caucus's attitude going forward.
That is 100% of my attitude driven. We've got to change this FBI. We have had reports after reports going after Americans when they shouldn't. And I'm going to tell you what, another place we're going to have to look for spending, the FBI wants to spend millions upon billions of dollars for a new one big headquarters, create a new big Pentagon. That is not best suited for the FBI. The FBI should be out across in smaller offices across America helping fight crime. not going after Americans looking for others. So I don't think that's a good use of our money. You're going to find time after again, we have a strategy. And the one thing you could find is we're going to keep moving forward with each time further. Look, they underestimated I could become Speaker. They underestimated could we pass the Parents' Bill of Rights. They underestimated could we get a border security bill. Could we get a debt ceiling. Well, you know what? We did it by showing that we can put the country on a new path. Look, there are Republicans in the Senate that want to keep spending more. Being able to thread the needle, keeping people together. I know people are going to be upset on both sides, but I'm going to keep my eye on the American people, and we're going to keep winning for them each day and coming back fighting for them each day.
He is House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Tonight, he is at the Lincolnshire Marriott in Lake County in Lincolnshire. Dinner's at 7 o'clock. I don't know if tickets are available. Probably not, but maybe you could get an SRO ticket. He's he's the political Taylor Swift in town this weekend. Speaker
Come
Kevin,
on out. I want to see you all.
Speaker McCarthy, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Meat meal could be made of spoiled supermarket meat and packing house scraps, and you would never feed those to your dog. That's why